So what obviously, when I think about 2000, I always first have to think about 99. And, the outcome from 99, I think really compelled me. I had more years in me. So I knew as soon as 99 was over that, 2000 was a goal. I would, be on board, no questions asked. It was not a doubt in my mind. And I think a lot of people probably felt the same way. I can't say I ever really asked, but I think 99 was such a unique season that we really felt like it was going to be all hands on deck for 2000. So if you could come back in 2000, you would.
But the good news for that year is that it, in the turmoil, it kind of brought the whole core together. And, and so it was a very, very close knit, tight group. Everybody were great friends. I really think all the off the field stuff, everybody had just a wonderful time hanging out with each other. And so in the end, I really think that that's what propelled us into 2000. It's just that tight grip, that tight knit membership, and kind of that, commitment to each other that we were going to come back and try to, try to set things in the right direction the next year.
And that's just kind of like the Bluecoat spirit. It feels like, you're there for the core and you're there to give what you can to the core, right? So coming back in 2000, I knew that was not a question for me, because if I could help, kind of maintain some kind of consistency to really help, make finals again and help 2000 be, a better season than 99, then that was going to be my goal. That was like no questions asked there.
So tell us, how does the core get better in the 2000? What pulled them up the ladder so quickly?
Larry Harshman. Basically the story goes, he was just like, no, the Bluecoats are never going to do that again. They're always going to be in finals from here on out. We're going to make sure that happens. I think honestly, like when we dipped down into Texas and got amazing talent down there in 01, that was just great. We were just able to expand out of Ohio. I think you had the 99 and 2000 that stuck with it. Like we went further, we went better. And it was just, we just kept pushing each other. I think that kind of started to set the standard for all of us to push each other and hold each other accountable.
Those type of things, it was just, we kind of had to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And then at the very end, I think there was a sense the whole season we were going to make finals, but then at the very end, it was very much in question. And I remember that being really, really stressful for everybody. And, the core that was nipping at our heels was Southwind, and they were really good. And they would have made, finals for the first time. And they were really worthy competitors that year. But luckily on semifinals, we squeaked in, and it was just a massive sense of relief. But it also propelled us into 2001, where it was just a huge level of improvement. 4 places in a season, going from 12th to 8th.
There were still conversations in the Corps at 2004. There were still some people that had been a blue coat then. And so there was a sense of like, there's people who have devoted time to this Corps when the Corps was, to the broader people, to someone like me who knew nothing about the blue coats other than what they see on the, the rankings, right? No attachment. That was pretty powerful, of knowing that people were sticking through this, and they cared enough to come all the way through. And so, I mean, I hated that year. I mean, although that year was hard. I'd never been pushed mentally or physically like that in my life. But it was obvious that the bond that the people who I marched with, and especially the older folks, the older guys who'd been there, who were aging out, or a year or two from that, who had been there for quite a few years. It was obvious how much they cared about the organization. But it was because of those, especially in 04, those guys and girls really pushing, who had been there for 3, 4, 5 years, who got us, I think, over that hump and continuing to move forward.
Those 4 years kind of rolled the same way. That's part, he was talking about the consistency. I think that's why we succeeded, because what we were doing was pretty much the same correct way through those 3 years. So,
and so there's that continuity in staff, but I think bringing in McIntosh was big, because I think he really pulled that staff together and galvanized everybody and kept a real positive spirit throughout the summer and the dog days of July, where nobody wants to get better. Everybody just wants to sleep.
David Glasgow, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bluecoats in my first year as the Executive Director of the Corps.
I love Dave. I mean, I think he was a great leader in, coming in to be the leader of the Corps in 2000 after 99, could have been a very challenging position. So he, I think, took that on very well. He was mature. He, presented well. I know he'd tell you differently, that he had a lot to learn as far as actual conducting experience goes. But, I think he led the Corps well. I found him to be a great friend and a great ally. I was the color guard captain that year. So I think, we had kind of like a working relationship. He was great. Yeah, he was respectable. I really enjoyed him. And then, of course, after I was done marching, seeing the things he accomplished, just felt like, yeah, like that makes sense. He was dedicated to the Corps, and he had that maturity about him that I could easily see why he was, asked to be the director.
Him and Genevieve both were like really good. They were like the mom and dad away from home, if you will. They were pretty down to earth with us. They knew how to talk to us. Actually, funny story. I think a drumline instructor at Western Michigan University that I got to know a little bit marched with David Glasgow back when they marched, and he told me a story of David telling him, one day I'm going to be the director of this Corps, and Casey Springer's his name, and he goes, and I just laughed at him.
But you also respected what he was doing and his heart more than anything. I would say that I probably saw his heart in 04 when I started teaching, because I got to see him from the other side, from the staff and admin section, and just like all the ideas that he had and where he wanted to go with the Corps and some different things that he was thinking. It was like, wow, he's really got some great plans for the Bluecoats in the future.
Pick us up with, the 06 season ends. We had a fourth place finish. Things are going really well, and you guys decide to give us a whole makeover. What led to that?
I think everybody just felt it was time. Even though the branding that we had before, there was certainly nothing wrong with it. The Bugle Bee logo, even to this day, we find good use for it. And I still really like the logo, and I think everybody did, really. But it had been around a long time, and we all felt too that we needed to kind of make our whole image more professional. And it wasn't that the Bugle Bee logo wasn't professional; it was just that we needed to package kind of everything together, and we wanted to really just up our branding game. But then over time, I think it really clicked. you know, it really clicked. And now, even though it certainly has evolved in its own way since then. And, you know, and the usage of the logo and things like that have evolved.
With our transition, you know, the transition to digital and most things being online and that kind of thing, I think that was probably like a major driver, like the way that you recruit students and fans and people to purchase things, you know, in that time, having transitioned to, you know, be primarily, you know, using your website. I think that was really an important aspect of getting a full refresh there for digital assets.
Yep, that's a great point. And the other thing too is I think with what the Corps was doing on the field and kind of where we wanted to go creatively with the shows, it made sense for us to look at something that was a little edgier, maybe a little bit darker. And that's kind of how we, you know, came about with the color scheme and the font treatment, and, you know, something that was definitely modern and cutting edge. And, you know, obviously that's what the Corps is today, with beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so that's really where we were going with it too.
Placement wise, we leaped, and then we kind of got stuck in the middle pack. How did you guys break that mold at the end of the decade?
A lot of times when it comes, you know, when you are thinking about show design and how things come together on the field, it's all about choices, and it's all about ideas. And sometimes, you know, you have ideas and make choices and they work out beautifully. And the reason they do that sometimes is right place at right time. You know what I mean? Like the right idea at the right time with the right group.
Over time, a lot of us, the relentless pursuit of, you know, designers and educators to keep, you know, pushing forward. If someone would leave or, you know, not be asked back, you know, just Dave was very tenacious and very had, you know, just has always had like a really keen eye for hiring people, and he was very relentless in pursuing that. And I think that was a major part of our improvement, you know, just
everything coming together and under that really cool show with that, you know, needle moving idea of the electronics, I think is what propelled us into, you know, the top 3 for the first time. Well, definitely. So going from 99 to 2000, you know, bringing Larry Hirschman back into the organization and working together with Bill and the staff to kind of put together a structure of kind of how things would operate going forward, I think was huge and really kind of set us on the right path. And then I was just kind of the continuation of that moving forward. And then obviously as Jen and I went and the whole team went, we used our own ideas, developed our own ideas. But to me, it was all about climbing the mountain. You know, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of hard work off the field too. It wasn't just the on the field stuff. You know, it was raising money and making sure that every element there was as best as it can be.
I think maybe, you know, in the off the field stuff, which is really what makes it, you know, an organization that people, be they students, teachers, volunteers, whatever, want to come back to, you know, the next year, we made a concerted effort to like, okay, overhaul each small department that would, you know, and make it a professional part of our, you know, our core business. So it's like, you know, food service. Okay, instead of just all volunteers, you hire some people and then have volunteers and you have a whole system. Okay, then next merchandise. Okay, then next this one, you know, take all of those things and professionalize and systematize them one at a time as you can do it, which takes years to do, you know, and it takes financial commitment as well as time and all of that. But taking each one of those things and improving it over time, I think has created, you know, that off the field structure that is really what props up everything that we do on the field.